Welcome, hackers. Today we're looking into trap design. We're going to look at the factors to keep in mind when you're making a trap, and then we're going to take a look at one of my favorite all-time traps at the end. Tell me about your favorite traps in the comments below, and let's get started. The first thing to look at is the purpose of the traps. Some traps are less about damaging the player and more about convincing people to stay away. In cases like this, traps toward the beginning of the dungeon will be less dangerous, and traps further in would be more dangerous. Traps designed to protect treasure can vary in intensity based on the value of the treasure. Also, a trap designed to protect treasure must also reset automatically. If it wasn't, then once the trap was triggered, the treasure is no longer protected. Sometimes the players won't even know that they've triggered a trap. The trap may just signal other denizens of the dungeon that the party has arrived. Think of the alarm spell, for which I have made a video here. Think of a trap that does no damage. It just captures the players. Pit traps fall into this category. If you have an outpost that you just don't want animals wandering into, you might have traps like this. You might also have traps like this if the creators of the dungeon want information from its prisoners. These kinds of traps can also immobilize a player so that enemies can attack from a safe range. It could also be possible to use traps to funnel the players to where you want them to go. Put a trap in a hallway and obvious traps further down the same hallway. The players may try to find an alternate route, which is where the bad guys have set up their ambush. The most basic traps in Dungeons & Dragons also just trigger and then damage. But what if we updated them by adding layers? A pit trap to drop the players and cause damage. Then the top closes to trap them in place. Maybe opening a chest creates a sleeping gas to knock the players out, and then also triggers an alarm to notify the denizens of the dungeon of the attempted theft. These kinds of combinations can add a little depth to the trap to make them more interesting. Who made the trap is also important. Goblin traps are pretty simple, but wizard traps can be pretty elaborate. Goblin traps are usually pretty mundane with pits and tripwires, while an evil sorcerer could have magical effects hitting the party. The most ruthless of all are the kobolds. Kobolds, my favorite monster of all time, are the most cunning trap makers. They use the surroundings and their size to their advantage. Kobolds might have a hallway with pressure plates that cause blades to swing through the hall at a height of 4 feet. If the players trigger them, then they take damage. If the party sees them and avoids them, then the kobolds can run in and step on them with no fear because the blades are above their heads and only hitting the players. The whole time, the kobolds can also attack the party as well. One of my favorite traps was in a kobold warren. There was a metal portcullis blocking the hallway, and there was a lever on the wall beyond. The players suspected a trap, so they looked around, and sure enough, there was a pit trap directly in front of the metal bars. One player decided to jump across the 5-foot pit trap and grab the bars to reach through and pull the lever. This is when the actual trap triggered. The bars were electrified, and the player was stunned and fell into the pit. 20 feet down in the pit is the gelatinous cube. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz, engulfed adventurer. You can see how the purpose and who made them can be important to how traps are designed. You can also see the importance of subverting the expectations of the players with multiple layers in your traps. I hope you learned a little bit about trap design and can give me a like and maybe even a subscribe. And until the next video, keep on hacking the dungeon.